crisis. In its attempt to understand the impact of COVID-19 on retailers present, near future, and in the long run, the Department of Fashion Management Studies has organized this webinar that brings together stalwarts from diverse fashion fields to discuss change in business dynamics in post-COVID-19 situation. Now, first, I will start with introducing our panel members. To start with, we have with us Mr. Amit Kumar. Hello, Mr. Amit. He's joining us from Bangalore. Mr. Amit is Chief Merchandising Officer at Unilimited Urban Fashion Brands. He's an alumnus of Apparel Marketing and Merchandising from NIFT Delhi and member of Association of NIFTA. Mr. Amit Kumar comes with rich experience in brands like Future Group, Levi Strauss and Company, Globus, and Irwin. He has expertise in various key fields like apparel, retail, and brand management, like product creation, buying, design, sourcing and merchandising, operations, and people management. Welcome, sir. Our next panelist is Mr. Ankur Bhatia. He's joining us from Mumbai. He's an alumnus of Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow. Ankur Bhatia has an experience of 12 years with brands like ITC, Snapdeal, and Bestseller. At present, Mr. Ankur is Chief of Staff at Bestseller and working with the Chief Executive for formulating the corporate strategy through engagement with key stakeholders and measuring performance to keep deviations under check. Welcome, Mr. Ankur. Next, we have with us Mr. Devanshu Datta. He's joining us from Delhi,
Hi.
founder, Chief Executive, Third Eyesight. He's an alumnus of Apparel Marketing and Merchandising from NIFT Delhi. He is founder, Chief Executive of Third Eyesight and founder managing partner of PVC Partners. Mr. Devanshu is also a founding member of Association of NIFTA. In his career spanning 3 decades, Mr. Devanshu has consistently worked at ahead of the curve businesses. He is actively involved in social causes in areas of environment, sustainability, and social harmony. He has vastly contributed as an expert speaker at premier industry events internationally and through articles in media. Mr. Devanshu also serves actively on the industry advisory boards of leading universities and institutes. Welcome, sir. Next, we have with us Mr. Manish Saxena joining us from Bangalore. He is lead Adhyam Handwoven and advisor Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, Arrow. He is an alumnus of Apparel Marketing and Merchandising from NIFT Delhi and a member of Association of NIFTA. Mr. Manish is a lifestyle specialist with 26 years of experience in design, product management, marketing, store design, visual merchandising, and backend in retail industry. Mr. Manish brings with him a wealth of core consumer experience from leading the growth, expansion, and profitability of the iconic brand Tommy Hilfiger in India as COO for its India operations. He made his foray into the e-commerce environment with LimeRoad.com and Amazon, while pursuing his passion to engage with viewers in different craft clusters to create saris. Welcome, Mr. Manish. Next, we have joining us from Texas, USA, is Dr. Sanjukta Pukulangara. Uh, she is a professor in merchandising and digital retail at University of North Texas. Professor Sanjukta is MS in the field of fashion merchandising from University of North Texas and PhD in the field of textile apparel management from University of Missouri, Columbia. A digital retailing educator with 20 years of experience in academics, she has an expertise in researching slow fashion and new technologies such as social media, channel strategy, voice search, and its influence on consumer shopping behavior as well as the retail industry. Welcome, ma'am. Next, we have with us joining from Mumbai, Mr. Shilpi Sharma. He is the Chief Creative Officer at Shopper Stop, an alumnus of fashion design from NIFT Delhi and member of Association of NIFTA. Mr. Shilpi Sharma has 29 years of rich experience in brands like Globus, Reliance, and Shopper Stop. In his 29 years of fashion career, he has handled various markets and brands. Welcome, sir. Now, I would like to introduce you all to Dr. Sushil Raturi, moderator for today's panel discussion. Dr. Sushil Raturi is professor at Department of Fashion Management Studies, NIFT Mumbai. He has been associated with NIFT since 1998. Dr. Raturi teaches core subjects of fashion marketing, omnichannel retail, and fashion brand management. His primary research areas are experiential marketing, national brand, and private label. Dr. Raturi has authored books on fashion brand strategies and experiential marketing. He is chair professor of Tata Trend FMS NIFT Mumbai Retail Chair, and as part of the chair is conducting an advanced research to develop new retail business practices for national and private labels. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Sushil Raturi.
Thank you, Yashwant. Thank you for your great initiative to organize this particular webinar. A very warm welcome to all the panel members and a good evening to all the members as well as participants who are connected with us through Zoom as well as from YouTube. And I have just been looking at the data. I think probably more than 400 registrations were done, and I expect that the participant number would go up. At present, it is showing something 110, I believe. So with time, this number is going to go up. I would like to, first of all, welcome and thank all the participants who are a big shot in their own ways with almost 3 decades of experience. We have panelists who are driving policy, Mr. Devanshu Datta. We have corporate strategists like Ankur, Amit, and creative in the shopper stop. We have Manish, who has been an instrumental in bringing international brand, and Professor Sanjogita, who is a keen researcher and academician and who understands the pulse of European, American, and Indian market. So with this wide experience, I hope to make this debate a very interesting one. I also would like to tell all those participants and attendees who are connected with us through Zoom and YouTube that they can post their question and answer at any point of time, and we will be answering to those specific questions directed to the specific panel member. Now, I'll first of all come to the reason that how and why we came to a webinar like this. In one of our interaction with Director NIFT Mumbai, Professor Pawan Godiawala, wherein we were discussing the progress of the online lectures which were going on, Director asked us that why not conduct a webinar which will specifically answer the or address the issues of post-COVID, how the business will change. And he gave us a broad area, and we can say that under the umbrella of perspective and paradigm, he asked us to conduct series of webinars. Last week on 17th of May, Ms. Lipi Chaudhary from Department of Fashion Management Studies, she conducted one such this webinar where she was specifically talking about how will this impact the luxury business. Today we are talking about how this crisis will affect the retail industry in generic. We have some more webinars to come, and we have almost finalized. There are webinars which would address the issue of textile and apparel manufacturing. There would be webinar which our NIFT Mumbai campus would be organizing on supply chain disruptions. We would be organizing a webinar in the area of how the role of designers will change in years to come with the new technology coming in. Apart from this, we are also conducting a very interesting webinar which will address the issue of how the role of educator will change in years to come. As I was discussing before the session started, that the educators will not be a primarily educator coming, teaching and going. So we need to do a lot more than educating our students. And so on those lines, we would be having the webinar. Just to tell you the segment who have joined with us, I just got the data that we have student community from fashion and IFT. There are some students from B schools also who have joined us, and we have NIFT alumni, we have NIFT faculty members and industry members who are not NIFTians, but they have joined from different geographical location. And yes, Professor Sanjogita is from a different geographical location, which is Texas. She is with us right now. The reason why we all have assembled here is to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on retail business. Initially, we were thinking to discuss Indian retail business, but then we thought, let us take a wider perspective and also include the global aspect also. In last 2-3 months, we have been passing through a situation which we have never experienced in our life. Neither we would like to experience such type of experience in life. And we would have never imagined in our wildest dream that the concept like this will come, wherein we would be socially completely keeping ourselves away from all these segments of the society. But this crisis has also taught us something. We probably have become more stronger emotionally. We have become more stronger mentally. Maybe physically we have not become stronger because we have been missing out our regular fitness regime. But on the basis of the discussions that I have had with various stakeholders of the retail business, and to be more specific, the fashion retail business, I came across two schools of thoughts on the basis of my brainstorming, deliberation, and discussion through various platforms, be it formal or informal. There are two schools of thoughts have emerged. The first school of thought says that post-COVID, the consumers' buying behavior will change drastically, and they would be basically looking at need-based buying, essential buying, rather than aspirational buying. Now, if something like this happens, then retailers need to modify or realign their business model or business practices. So that would be a huge challenge for the retailer if something like this happen, which is school of thought one. The second school of thought, which individuals have indicated, is a school of thought which says that as an individual, we tend to forget things very easily. And I think I have discussed it with Devanshu earlier also, that people will become normal. Whatever they were buying earlier, I call it endless buying, mindless buying. If probably the retailers will object to my such type of buying as a mindless buying, but people will start buying all those aspirational lifestyle products, and we will just forget about it. If something like this happens in school of thought 2, then retailers are perfectly okay. They will not need to too much modify their existing business model. They probably need to integrate only safety, health, and social distancing aspect in their business model, and rest everything remains as it is. Now, before I start, now with this background, I would like to start the discussion, and I would like to give you the structure of the discussion. My structure of the discussion is in three forms. There would be three rounds. Round one, which will talk about remarks from opening remarks from all the panel members, not in any order, but it would be an alphabetical order, wherein I would seek your remark as an individual, not as a professional, because sometimes what happens as professional or as a business practitioner, you might have some other opinion, but when you introspect yourself, you will say, no, I actually, as an individual, I am like this, but in boardroom meeting, I am like a different person. So in the opening remark, probably I would expect that the individual remark should come, that which school of thought you endorse or which school of thought you belong to, or first of all, do you agree that these two extreme ends in terms of school of thought exist? There can be some school of thoughts which can be in between these two extreme ends. So probably I'll quickly start with, if I'm talking about alphabetic order, probably Amit would be the first person who need to answer this, that which school of thought out of these two school of thought that you think you belong to as an individual, not as a corporate strategies of unlimited.
Look, so I personally feel that customers will forget, and we will people will come back to normal, but that is not going to happen in a hurry. It is going to take some time. So it will take almost a year, I would say, for things to come back to normal what it was. But during this 1 year period, uh, as a individual as well as a corporate person, there is a lot of work to be done. So for us to really gear up for that 1 year later horizon, when everything would perhaps come to a normal. This COVID is not going anywhere. I feel we will have to just continue living with it. There will be a lot of shifts which will happen. People will start consuming, but it will just take a bit of a time for them to come back. So
Yeah, I
that's
think
my
as you
first
just,
opening remark.
Amit, as you just said that COVID is going to go for a longer time, I completely endorse this. And this is the reason why I didn't say post-COVID. I am just using a term which is like post-lockdown or post-easing of lockdown, how situation will change. So probably you say that things will be normal and we will be back with the same zeal and the same energy of buying, shopping, and engaging ourselves with the product. Yeah.
Yeah, but which products you will buy,
Yes.
that would perhaps change. What is the kind of categories you will buy, that will change. So there will be a lot of shifts. So that's why I said this 1 year period from now to maybe next Diwali, not this Diwali, the next Diwali, is the time which will take for things to come back to normal.
Yeah, and when I say product, the entire discussion will revolve around the fashion, the textile and apparel product, not the FMCG, because I think FMCGs are doing quite well, and they are the people who are making the best of the business at this point of time. So we'll stick our conversation to the fashion, textile, and apparel business. Yeah. So my next would be Ankur. Do you think these two school of thoughts exist? And where do you place yourself in these two school of thoughts?
First of all, a very, very good afternoon to all the listeners and to my fellow speakers. Uh, I, of course, believe both the schools of thoughts exist because there are different kinds of consumers who exist in the world. I also believe there will be people who would be there in the center who would probably reduce their spends from one category and maybe spend somewhere else. But I think one thing is for sure that the world will probably never be the same again. Uh, a lot of people have learned this new way of life that a pandemic can actually stall everything, the entire world. What a war cannot do, this pandemic has actually shown us to be capable of doing. So I think there will be some people who would obviously come out of the lockdown and say life is too short to preserve money and save cash, and they would be the ones who brands would love to cater to, and there would also be people throughout the spectrum who would either preserve cash or not spend that much, or would want to spend only on those categories which make absolute sense. So I think there is no one answer to the question, but there would be various. So there would be horses for courses, kind of a customer spend.
Okay. So basically, you're saying that the school of thoughts will vary from category to category. Within fashion, the categories to category, it will vary.
Yes. Yes. So just to give an example, for instance, people will attend a lot of webinars. People will attend a lot of Zoom calls. They would need a lot of shirts and T-shirts, right? Because that's what you see. People might not need so many denims, so many trousers in the future. So we are thinking on those lines also, actually.
Yeah, I think you made a very good point that the bottoms will suffer. The upper part of the shirt probably, or a tees or denims or jackets. These are the categories which probably will work out more, especially in the climate where it is cold. Probably the blazer, jackets, suits will work more. Great. Devanshu, I have been listening to your webinars, and you are quite active, and if I may say, proactive in all the webinars, and as a policy driver, as a strategist, or be it in operational topics. Do you really believe that at this point of time, society is divided into these two segments? Because when I discuss it informally with my friends, I feel that there is a heated discussion or argument between these groups, that no, people like this will happen, something like this will happen. So I think society is slowly and slowly getting divided. This is my perception. How do you take it? Because you have been doing lots of brainstorming and interaction with industry members. So how do you take it? Where do you stand yourself?
Yeah, Sushil, I'd like to put it in a different way. When we look at technology, and this has been said about technology, that we always overestimate the impact and the speed at which technology will make a change, and we underestimate the impact when it comes to a longer term view. And the same is true of any disruption. So let's say if we take this disruption, which is a medical disruption, it's an economic disruption. We are at the moment, because we, let's say, in different parts of the world, we might have been under restriction for a few days, a few weeks, a few months. I mean, personally, when we're sitting in India, we've been under restriction for about almost 2 months. I mean, personally, I've been at home for 2 months. Uh, it feels like this is a major shift, and this will change everything. And I think we're overstating that change in the short term. However, having said that, I think we also underestimate the change that it will cause in the longer term. And I think that's where this seeming conflict between two schools of thought or two extremes are coming up, where one would be saying that, there's a huge shift, and one would be saying there's no shift, everything will go back to normal. In the short term, as the restrictions start to ease, things will go back to normal. But underlying that are changes that are happening in terms of consumption, in terms of buying behavior, even for businesses, in terms of the kind of products that you're talking about. And over time, those will accumulate into significant shifts, which when you look back down 10 years or 20 years, when you look back, you may not relate those shifts to this particular moment, but they would have happened over a period of time. And I think that's very important to keep in mind. The fact that there was a pandemic 100 years ago, which then led to, after that, there was a period of economic uncertainty, economic growth a bit, and then there was a world war. And then after there was, again, a large period of growth, there were conflicts happening. This is history which has gone on. I mean, if we care to read history, there are disruptions of all sorts which happen. And society shifts, and society structures shift, and changes do happen over a period of time, which are not related to one particular event. There are accumulations which happen over a longer period of time. So, just to end my comment with one reference to a talk that I'd given a little over a year ago at a NIFTA conclave, and a lot of NIFT students were also in the audience. I remember that day. When I said that, this was a challenge which I've thrown again to many industry people over the last 2, 3 years, and this was the first time I was actually making the challenge public. That if business were to drop, if consumption were to drop 50% in the next 10 years, and you still had to run a business profitably, how would you do it? And I mean, obviously, like I said, I've made this challenge several times. I didn't know that 2020 COVID would hit and suddenly stores would be closed and consumption would drop 50% this year. But the fact is that even after it starts coming back to normal, will you still run business the same way? Will you still run retail businesses the same way? Will you still run a manufacturing business the same way? I think that's something which really needs to be examined. If we don't examine that, I think we would have lost the opportunity to transform the industry that lies in the seed of this crisis.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah. In fact, I also remember one of your seminar that time where you had said that assume that 1 year later you suffer like this or your business is cut down to 50%. So probably that was the time when nobody thought that something like this will happen. And I think exactly after 1 year, something like this has happened. So I think
people are saying, I wish you
that you are from third eyesight, you have a better sense, so you can dodge things well in advance. Yeah.
No, I think Sushil, people have asked me, why didn't I wish for something else? And I, honestly speaking, I wasn't wishing for this.
Right. Yeah. So with that note, I think I'll directly come to Manish. Manish, I've seen you, and I find that you have struck a very good balance between your professional life in terms of growth, expansion, bringing new brands, and also you are doing lots of initiatives and work in the area of social responsibility. So on one hand, you are a successful professional in terms of business generation, and then you are also as an individual doing lots of social responsibility related work. So as an individual, where do you see yourself in these two school of thought? Because they are completely two different extreme ends.
Hmm. Yeah, so actually, yeah, so my sentiment about this whole thing is also therefore skewed a bit because I am seeing both the sides of it. So I'm seeing, so to say, the craft community side, where it is about their livelihood, it's about earning their daily wages, and therefore it's important that they should continue to produce because that's the only way they can actually earn their livelihood. But we are also obviously we all have to be wary about the fact that there should not be mindless production, because
Right.
just accumulating production for which the consumer is not ready to consume is just going to eventually not give any benefit. Because we all in a way sort of realize that in these fashion and lifestyle industry, pretty much spring of 20, the entire inventory that we all have had accumulated is all unexposed, and therefore it has put us back by a season straight away. Whereas on the other side, I see that the retailers are looking for the earliest opportunity to able to start the business again and attract the consumer. The biggest, so to say, the suspense in this whole thing is how the consumer would behave. And to answer your original question, therefore, I feel that perhaps the consumers are already behaving in a manner where they would curtail and postpone some key purchases. And this is not really looking like a priority. The mind is occupied with so much more at this time that you don't really have a frame of mind to consider shopping. So if I was to even look at myself, I'm quite a shopaholic, but in the last 2 3 months I haven't felt the need to shop. It's also a time when we all have realized that we don't need much eventually, and that is a realization which is going to be there with some people for a long time. So whether it will be post COVID or wherever, but there would be a certain amount of realization that would have seeped in, that how much do we really need to consume? Do we really need to shop so much as we used to? And that might be a deterrent, but at the same time, I think there'll be people of all types, but I do feel that necessity would take over. But if something is created in an exquisite, irresistible manner, I think people who really seek good products would continue to shop and would do that only because the product is irresistible.
Right.
And that is what the biggest, so to say, the challenge for the entire fashion community would be to create products which give the aspiration all over again to the consumer to shop.
Yeah. So with your permission, I can put you in that school of thought one.
It's pretty much there, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Unless, of course, something irresistible comes my way. Yes, of course, yeah.
And I remember Devanshu also. Devanshu falls under school of thought two, and I am also Devanshu. We had a discussion, and you said that you are completely different from what I said, that I belong to a particular school of thought. So you said that if you are from that school of thought, please don't call me, because then we will have a. Then we said that
No,
it is
no,
always better to have conflicts and
no.
discussions on different aspects. Yeah.
No, so I think just to clarify that, I think, like I said, I don't see it as conflict between two schools of thought. I think it's a question of evolution, and it will happen over a period of time. In the short term, there would be a resurgence of demand because people are sick of sitting at home. People are sick of not indulging and so on and so forth. So and we are seeing the signs of that happening in the markets which are opening up, like China, Southeast Asia, and so on, where stores are opening. So there's that initial surge of traffic back into the stores. But after a while, it dies down. And let's not forget, the health crisis is not over. Even in the countries which were further ahead in the crisis, like China, they were months ahead. And infections are coming up again. So both in terms of security of the self and or a sense of insecurity about the self and the sense of insecurity about your income, your livelihood, both of those are going to remain factors. So you can't just expect the market to start flooding again with product and customers flowing into the stores just indiscriminately buying. I don't think that will happen as much. And I think over a period of time, like I said, there will be a transformation. So let's be ready for that rather than just say that things are back to normal. Let's go back to our playing.
So this brings us to come to Professor Sanjogita. So a warm-up question, since it's too early for you to answer questions related to business challenges. So I'll ask you the same thing, that in your part of the world, which is US and Texas, where you are right now, do you also see that these two school of thought in a formal manner or informal manner do exist?
Um, well, to tell you very truthfully, if you ask me from my personal point of view, I have changed my consumption pattern. I have definitely changed it. I'm more buying stuff which either I appreciate a lot, just somebody said that, it's something exquisite, or it is grocery stuff. So I've kind of gone from buying stuff because it's on sale to kind of being thoughtful about what I want. As far as the market over here is concerned, consumption patterns, consumer behavior has completely changed. And I agree with all the panel members. It's very hard to put the customers either in this slot or in that slot. They are going to evolve. Some of the consumers are behaving as if it doesn't matter, but it's like they're treating it as their right to go and shop, but they're not shopping. They just want to say that it's my right and I want to go there, but they're not buying as much because there's a lot of uncertainty around the financial aspects of it, because finance has become a very tricky issue because because of all the jobs disappearing, and I'm sure in India too, but in US the retail industry has got a big hit, along with the hospitality industry. And so people are shopping, but in a very, very subtle or thoughtful manner, which is good. Overconsumption can impact in a different way. However, and this is something kind of came across, digital has become very, very strong as a differentiator for brands who will make it and who will not. People have started dabbing in digital for a few years now, especially here in the United States, but it's as an afterthought. It's something they think and put it into place as, oh, everybody has it, we should have it. But now I think they will really need to think through, and when they strategize, they have to make sure that the digital piece is a part of the story rather than an add-on. And I think that is something is becoming more apparent as businesses which are thriving have been able to kind of understand that, versus businesses like Neiman Marcus, for example. It's a huge retail luxury store which is going through bankruptcy. So they have not evolved enough to understand that customer has changed. And I think irrespective of which country we belong to, we as an industry have to understand that customers have changed and they are not going to go back to what they were before. They might still buy more, but when they buy, their thought process is going to be very different. And I think once all of us kind of understand that, get on board with that, we will survive. But if we say, no, we'll go back to doing business the same way, you put out a sale and people will come, it's not going to work that way anymore.
Yeah, so probably you belong to the school of thought one, if I can.
Yes, more than likely, yes.
Great. So now with this opening remarks, I will come to the round two. Now in round two, what will happen is, whether it is school of thought one or it is a school of thought two, there are some issues, there are some concerns, there are some challenges, there are some problems which are or which have evolved in these two schools of thought. So we'll start taking up these two.
Sushil.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, this is Shilpi.
I completely forgot. Shilpi.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So, first of all, you'll be penalized for inviting me and forgetting me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Shilpi.
Right. So I'll send you.
Shilpi, I am coming to you. I'm coming to you, Shilpi. Extremely sorry. Shilpi, as an individual, tell me, how do you fit yourself? And remember that you are not in a corporate board meeting. If you are not in corporate board meeting where you have to corporate strategy, you just have to tell me as an individual whether you are from. Remember, you are not in boardroom meeting.
Yeah.
Shilpi, you're with us?
Yeah.
Shilpi?
Sushil, I've been with you throughout the. Yeah. Hear me, please.
Yeah, Shilpi, I'll come back to you. I was asking you that, imagine that you are not sitting in a boardroom meeting, and as an individual, Where do you
Yeah.
are you in school of thought 1 or 2? Because as a boardroom strategist, probably you will have a different view. But when you introspect yourself and as an individual, when you're sitting with your me time, you would be thinking something else. So I want to know from your side that as an individual, which school of thought you belong to. Yashwant, we cannot hear him or view him.
Connectivity issue at his end. There is some connectivity network issue at his end.
Okay.
So maybe we can move further and he
I
will join us back.
ask Salve to get in touch with Shilpi. In the meanwhile, we'll start with the round 2. And in round 2, I was talking about the issues or concerns or the problem, the challenges which are being thrown by these two schools of thought. And there are various such type of challenges which we have seen. And here at this point of time, I would like the audience or the participants or attendees to start posting their questions so that we'll take it in round 2. Now, probably the first question that comes in my mind is from Devanshu. Devanshu, you have very rich experience of research and consultancy, and you have your business consulting clients in Europe, US, and Asia. And you have been a researcher in your own way and have been consulting since long. You are also an industry advisory boards of a lot many universities and institute. Now, I would like to understand from you that whichever school of thought exists or emerges, how will the market dynamics change? First of all, will the market dynamics change? And when we say market dynamics, I'm basically talking in terms of demand, supply, price, quantity, government interventions also. And in one of your conversation, I was listening that government role is going to be critical, crucial at this point of time. So how do you see market dynamics changing from the perspective of retailer and from the perspective of the consumers? Devanshu?
Sure. So I'd, to place some context on that question, I was actually, it so happened a few weeks ago, I was looking at some of the presentations that I've made over, I would say, the last maybe 10 years or so. And one of the themes that keeps recurring in the conversations that we've been having, and I obviously picked that up, was uncertainty. And at this point of time, I think if you asked any business leader as to do they know what will happen, forget business leader, government leader, or anybody for that matter, do they know what will happen 3 months down the line? The answer is a very honest no, right? It wouldn't have been the same case maybe 6 months ago if you had asked the same question, particularly in the business circles. Do you know what's going to happen in 6 months' time? They would have kind of said, yes, maybe, right? Which makes a whole qualitative difference to the kind of business decisions that you make, to the kind of structures you put in place in business, the strategies that you put in place. So if you look at a fashion business, which is, and as you said, I mean, we should be talking more in the context of the fashion business. If you look at the global fashion business today, you have a concept to shelf lead time. So from raw concept or from, let's say, the designer first starting to imagine a product to all the way when the customer actually buys, so concept to carry a bag, if you want to call it that. That lead time can be as long as a year or maybe even longer for many products and many companies. Some companies are doing it faster. Some companies are doing it much, much faster. But it is still, by and large, averaging around half a year and more. So the point is that if you don't know what's going to happen 3 months down the line or 6 months down the line, on what basis are you predicting your demand? On what basis are you predicting your inventory? On what basis are you predicting which product will sell more, which will sell less? And the answer, if you really hold your hand on heart, you will say, I don't know. So if you don't know, why predict? My question is very simple, and this is not something new. It's not a new problem. The problem is old. The business is in a mess, not because of COVID alone. Retailers around the world have been suffering for several months, maybe a couple of years, maybe more. because there is a lot of bad product, unsaleable products sitting in the system, whether it is at the retail store, somewhere along the pipeline, or in development. And that obviously takes away from the bottom line that the business would enjoy, which can be reinvested, which can be passed on to shareholders or to customers as better prices or whatever. If you say half of the product that gets made actually doesn't get bought or doesn't get worn, that's a criminal waste in terms of business. That's a criminal waste in terms of environmental resources, in terms of human life. Millions, hundreds of millions of people are engaged in making so many products which are not going to get ever worn. So the question is, what does the business then need to get structured as? And that is really, that's where, instead of being predictive, and we've had a whole decade of predictive analytics coming into play, with big data and all of that. The point is, predictions can only take you up to a certain distance. Response, the ability to respond to market needs, is what businesses need to have. If you can respond to a particular need which is arising this week, and at best the product takes maybe a week or 10 days to come into your store, you are much better off than the rest of the retail ecosystem. And there are very few retailers who can actually do that, right? Very few brands which can do that. And yet, that's the business of the future. If we cannot put that business model in today, or at least elements of that business model into our businesses today, I think we are really missing a trick. And I think that's where it needs to kind of converge between these two schools of thought that we're talking about. That if customers start to come in, you will still not know whether they would like your product or not. So it doesn't matter whether you are in one school or the other, whether you're saying that customers won't come or customers will come. If customers don't come, you're stuck with bad product. If your customers come and they don't buy, you're still stuck with bad product. So the point is, the ability of the fashion business to respond is very important. We are living with a business model, a fashion industry model, which has been created over the last maybe 7, 8, 10 decades. We are still living with an industrial model of fashion business. We are in a post-industrial world. We are in a world where uncertainty rules at the personal level, at the global level. So how do you make a profitable business in this case? Certainly not how 100 years ago people were doing it. Right? So I think that's where we need to start examining each and every business.
Yeah. So
yeah, Sushil,
I'm extremely sorry we lost your.
Yeah. First of all, I'll tell you that I belong to the second one, where I feel that this is just just a small. It's a nightmare which we are going through. It's going to get over. As soon as we have a vaccine, available for COVID-19, there'll be a euphoria all over the world. You would have conquered this bloody pandemic, and you would like to live your life. People will be spending a lot of money. People will enjoy life. People will still travel all abroad, enjoy everything which is available on this planet for us. So I definitely believe, yeah. Now, since you said you are talking about with the COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the COVID, there are different segments in the market. There is a premium segment, the luxury segment, which is going to rebound back immediately as soon as the lockdown opens. There will be a revenge shopping. There is going to be a retail therapy which is going to happen. And a lot of people who will refrain from shopping would be more driven by the economic uncertainty than talking about the virus or the possibility of infection and all those things. People will definitely take care of themselves, because we do not have a vaccine as yet. So in my opinion, it's going to be slow. Whatever stores are going to open soon, and they are opening, we are not seeing a good surge. I mean, it is working at almost 50 to 60% of last year. This is because the things are not normal. So in my opinion, personally, I would like to see the world enjoying, and I believe in that, and it will happen.
Very good. Shilpi, I also belong to the same.
Yeah, one part, coming on to your second round where you asked Devanshu about it, we know what we designed, Devanshu. We designed for our customers. Our customers come and buy, and if they can't afford it in full price, they stand in queues outside and buy when there is a discount. So definitely we are designing what customers are looking at, and we are bringing in new categories, we are bringing in new brands. There when yoga was picking up, there was a yoga line, then there was athleisure which was coming in. Now work from home lines have come in. There are beautiful masks which have come in. So there are a lot of things which designers do to predict the market, and we are at it.
Yeah, I'll come
Right.
to Shilpi with on this point with you,
Yeah.
because your business model is completely a model which attracts footfall, and high footfall probably would be a challenge. So I'll come back to it, but let me just summarize what Devanshu said. So Devanshu, what you said, if I can summarize it in this manner, that at this point of time, the corporates are not talking about what to do. As in when the situation will come, they will rework on their model, and accordingly, so that requires a good infrastructural support in terms of supply chain support. That requires a lead time, which would be much shortened lead time, because you are not planning for 1 month, you probably are planning a week or 5-day or 7-day type of stuff. So this is where probably you were trying to say that we are at this point of time, no corporate is working on a long-term business model, but as and when situation come, they'll quickly adapt to it and remodel their business.
Sushil, I would slightly disagree. I would say if you want a one-word answer from me as to what businesses need to do and they don't have,
Yes.
it is flexibility.
Yeah.
Flexibility is what they need to have.
Flexibility that I have
They
to be
don't.
flexible. Yeah.
Yeah, so businesses don't have flexibility at the moment, and they need to build flexibility. That would be my short answer.
Yeah.
But Devanshu, I'd like to chip in. The garment and the fashion industry is the most flexible industry. We are getting into short cycles. We are getting into the kind of, requirement of the customer at whatever time it is available. People in PPE kits. Now all the fashion sites are selling PPE kits. This has happened within 30 days. So we are very flexible. We are there to respond to the customer's demand, and we are doing it in business. Last 3 weeks of sale, if you see online, the maximum number of products which are selling are masks. And they are made available by all these businesses. So we are flexible, Devanshu.
Professor, I would like to come to
Yes.
you. And since you have been closely observing the US retail business as first as student, then as researcher when you did your PhD, and now since last 10 years as academician professor, how do you think the US retailers are also addressing this issue of market dynamics? Has market dynamics changed in US also?
I am in Devanshu's corner. I think that it is brands have to respond, but they have to be very flexible. But the flexibility is different from supply chain management perspective or product development perspective. They have to be flexibility in terms of creativity, which is a totally different thing. I'm not talking of creating a product. I'm talking of creating a mindset. I'll give you an example. It's not fashion, but this is happening, and this is what is kind of very different than what it was before. There's this whole surge of supporting small business. Now, it is very different from, so here in US, we talk about organized retail. This is where you learn, blah, blah, blah. But now we are going back to the mom and pop stores and saying, we'll support you, because they are being the most creative, they're most agile, because they are not bogged down with a huge product assortment or a lot of inventory, a lot of red tape to jump through. And so they are packaging and selling their products. So for example, there's a record store which sells records, and there's a bookstore. They have come together and they are selling mystery packs to people. You can buy them online. They will deliver to you, where there are these two distinctly different store concepts, but they're working together. So for me personally, I think retailers have, yes, they are flexible. They have got on to this manufacturing. A lot of the manufacturing is happening because they cannot manufacture products because nobody's buying it. So the best way to stay in business is to make what people want, which is masks, unfortunately. But they will go back to buying, I'm hoping they will not change the mindset and say, oh, well, everything is done and gone, and so we'll go back to making clothing. It's not going to happen that way. There has to be this mind shift in flexibility, but not in terms of product, but in terms of how to approach the entire business, how to look at social. I know some of you guys talked about social. Social responsibility is going to be a key factor in this because they have to understand that, customers are becoming more educated because they have nothing else to do with their time right now, so they have to become more educated, and they will go for brands which are flexible, but not in terms of product, but in terms of how they are supporting them. So, and customers will support the brands which understand that customers have changed, they have buying habits have changed, and therefore they're so I can see, it's very interesting kind of listening to all of you who are in the retail industry, working in the retail industry. But it's like as a customer, because in my role I'm mainly a customer in this panel, because I know I don't work for any retailer. We have changed, and we will, at least in United States, I cannot speak for India, but we will support that business which is flexible, not in terms of product, but in terms of the mindset. And kind of, it's not about what product we like, it's about how you're going to support me and my changing consumption pattern versus I want to buy this versus I want to buy that.
Fair enough. Moving away from the first one, which was market dynamics, I'll come to the next challenge, which is vocal for local. Now, this is again a very challenging debate which is going on, and in times to come, I think it will intensify further. And this issue is, I'm directing directly to Manish, Amit, Ankur, and Shilpi. Manish, you were instrumental in bringing lots of international brands which are very successful in India, if we look at. And so how do you see that? Will Indian consumers be more inclined to homegrown brands? And if that happens, so how do the international brands, or those who are the franchisee or the licensee of these international brands, how do they remodel their businesses?
So that's a slightly tricky question because I'm in both the boats, but I will still answer it with a sort of a balanced perspective. So I would say that even in the message that, let's say what Mr. Modi actually gave out, which is vocal for local, I think he very categorically also said that what we need to do is to make vocal for local and make them global. So what his whole effort is to support the domestic brands so that they can actually become a larger power and therefore actually sell just as international brands today sell in 25, 30, 40 countries. So while the vocal for local is a good sentiment, and it's almost like we are in times where this whole sentiment of goodness will reap goodness is something which is becoming ingrained in all of us, because we are seeing that how we have to help people around and how we need to be able to support, just as the word which Sanjukta recently used. And I think that will be a dominant characteristic. And in that vein, yes, local will get support and it should get support, because that is somewhere where the consumer can also make an impact immediately. They can see that they are actually impacting somebody's livelihood and they are actually bringing goodness to somebody. But I don't think it should be seen as a negative for the international brands, because in a way, the fact that international brands exist and the fact they actually give employment to so many people, and the fact they actually run the economy, they run the market, they run the retail industry, is again an opportunity which is eventually going to help the economy overall. So I would say that they need to coexist and they would coexist. What was getting neglected was local, and that's a good wave that should come back. and we should continue to support the local, but not at the cost of something, I would say. It is just that they should both be simultaneous.
Okay. Shilpi, I'll direct the same question to you, that with this debate getting intensified on vocal for local, and you in shoppers also have a very good combination of your private labels as well as lots of international brands. Do you think now time has come when you probably will go for more private label, like what West Side has been doing, more concentration on the private label rather than bringing in the international brands?
Yeah, first of all, Sushil, what I can tell you is that I'm a firm believer of private labels as a business also. You know, if you see today's scenario, you know, all the top end businesses in fashion and lifestyle are private, private labels. If you see Zara, it is 100% private label. If you see Uniqlo, it's 100% private label. You see H&M, that's 100% private label. And even in our Indian scenario, you have West Side, which is doing extremely well. It's private label. Then there is Reliance Trends, where I was, you know, that is also almost 95% private label. Max, which is doing very well. So private label is the key to success. That is definitely there. One part, but I think what Prime Minister Modi meant by vocal for local was that you should take pride in what is made in India. You should promote made in India products, and you should try to avoid imports wherever possible. And you should not be dependent on, other countries for your necessities and your, something which we have to actually, depend upon on our daily life. So that was the idea. I don't think he really connected it with the fashion industry or the brands like that. But I still feel that global is the world. There would be, now there are China getting, sidelined from the main playing field, but still the whole world is together. And, being in this pandemic, the world has come closer to each other. Everybody is, the most countries which are allied to China are now getting against it. So we are still global.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, we'll definitely push we have been pushing our domestic, products.
So basically, it is motivating the locals, but at the same time, not to demotivate the international brands. So that was the mantra.
No, international brands will keep on doing very well. The human lives are very aspirational. Everybody wants to be, dressed up, want to look good. It is going to be there. I mean, the world is not going to just, change the total mindset within just 3, 4, 5, 6 months of it.
Right. Amit, when we look at your Unlimited, we also find that you also have a very good combination of international brand, and I believe more of international and slightly lesser than more than the domestic homegrown brands. So what is your take on that? How people will get inclined towards the Unlimited as an international brand or a national brand, homegrown brand?
So first of all, Unlimited is more of a private label player, and everything what we sell in our stores is made in India. We have two labels. One is Cherokee and other one is L Studio. These are the two international labels which we sell in our stores, but they are all made in India. So customers actually don't really relate so much of those brands to international labels, international brands or global brands. We have mainly private label. We have got these two brands. We have other Indian wear brands like Karigari, Anahi. We have got kids wear. We have Donuts. So there are multiple private label brands. So as such, we don't really look at this issue too much. Having said that, what we had started doing in our business was, it was even before the COVID situation had come in. We started sourcing a lot from India, and not because we wanted to be vocal for local, and that mantra was not there earlier. It was more to get in flexibility in our business and to do shorter runs, to do fast turnarounds. we actually moved into a 8-week model where we were buying inventory for only 8 weeks and small quantities, 500,000 pieces per option. And that would not have been possible by buying from cheaper sources outside the country. So we were actually developing a lot of small scale vendors who could supply products to us with short runs at lower price points. And that's where we were moving towards. So I think we sell almost 90 to 95% of our products which are made in India. Arvind as a group is one of the largest exporters of denim from the country. So we are completely local and we want to become more vocal about it.
Okay. Ankur, your business model is also like that. In other cases, probably they have some homegrown brands as well in the form of private label. But in your case, in bestseller, all these brands are international brands. I believe that they all are manufactured or sourced from India also. So, what is your take on that? That with all your brands are international brand, though you might be sourcing or you might be getting it made in India. So, do you consider this as a challenge?
Yeah, so no, I don't consider it as a challenge for sure. What I think is that this answer needs to be this answer. I'll give it in terms of what the consumer is thinking and what the retailer is thinking. So I think from a consumer's perspective, I think the message is very clear from the Prime Minister that we need to start thinking about consuming products which are made locally, because we have seen China literally take off from the 60s and the 70s and has become a very, very powerful country purely on the basis of exports. Because of their prowess in manufacturing, I think they've done a lot of good to themselves. What it means is that a lot of cash gets generated and is preserved in the economy. So I think the consumer will start thinking about it. The consumer was already thinking about sustainability, and now they'll be forced to think about consuming products which are made locally. I think having said about consumers, there are different stratas of consumers as well. There would be people who would buy international products and they would buy them at international locations only. I'll not talk about them, but all rest of the guys in terms of buying that international brand, whether produced locally or internationally, would start thinking about buying products which are produced locally. Because of these reasons, because of the push which the Prime Minister is also giving to them. I think for the retailer, change in the business model, change in the way consumers are thinking is going to make a dent. International procurement also consumes a lot of cash in the business. The lead times are higher from design to production to delivery. I think that's very important. When you produce locally, you tend to preserve cash in the business because you're closer to the market. You spot trends, international trends, and then you produce them locally. And when you do that, your lead times are lesser. For the fashion business, I think from what the panel members were saying, I think the lead times have to go down. One thing which is for sure is that we always used to talk about profitability, but I think cash is going to become the next big talking point in all the businesses. And to do that, it's imperative that you start producing locally. So two reasons. One is to preserve cash. Second is to address the need which consumer is demanding from the businesses.
Right. Then Shilpi, you answered this that probably you would be looking more for the private labels because you also have a good combination of international and domestic homegrown brands. But you said that you probably would be looking more for from creating the private labels point of view. So that way, probably the homegrown brands proportion will be more in shoppers compared to the other international brand. So
Yeah, Shoppers has got three segments. One is private label business, one is external brands, which are national brands. They are also Indian brands which are selling in Shoppers Stop, and there are very few which are international brands. but none of these brands are actually getting imported. The clothes are actually getting imported in India and being sold. You know, in Indian market, it is not easy at a mixed market segment to import garments made outside and sell. It is unviable until unless you know you are dealing with the top of the line luxury segment. So even the international brands which are selling in India, they are viable. They can do good business only when they are made in India.
Right. So basically, if I have to sum up the entire discussion on the vocal for local, we can give a straight message that even if we are selling international brand, but the procurement, the sourcing, and the manufacturing, everything is happening in India. So in a way, it's a Indian brand, though the name is international, but the entire stuff has been done in this case.
Yeah, you can call it a brand license. You know, you have a brand license from there, you pay a royalty over there just for the
The
name.
royalty and rest, everything is being done here. So even if I'm selling international brand, I'm talking about vocal for local. Yeah.
Yes.
So with this, I'll move to quickly another concern, which is very relevant to Shopper Stop and Amit and to Ankur. Why Amit? Because Amit, I was looking at your Unlimited and it says 50 products are sold per minute. Now, when we talk about 50 products being sold per minute, that talks about huge footfall. And under a normal circumstances, this would have been a USP for you. And I'm sure this was USP for you. But now this brings a new challenge for you with the concept of social distancing, with the concept of health, hygiene, and safety. How as a brand, do you think there is a need to change the entire SOP of your stores?
Yeah, everything is going to change now. So, so if the customer can't come to the store, we are taking the store to the customer. So we are making some changes where we are using some technology, which is not really the regular e-commerce business. What we are calling it a phygital platform, wherein the customer can order and the store within 24 hours will deliver the product to the customer in the neighborhood, not partnering with any courier company, not partnering with anybody else, but it just that if the customer is not able to come to the store, we are taking the store to the customer. So that's the big change which we are doing. We've already and again taking to what Devanshu was mentioning, one has to be really flexible. So we got on Monday we got to know that Hyderabad is finally opening. And on Wednesday, the stores will open. Now we expected and it's Eid. It's a big Eid market there. So stores were opening, but we knew that the customer will not come to the store in the same numbers what they used to come before. So what do? So within 36 hours, we were able to put together this whole program of Phygital, where the entire store inventory mapped to a certain pin code was given to the customer. So there are all customers which are mapped to a certain store by pin code, and those customers can see the entire inventory available in their store closest to their pin code, from which they can order. And within 24 hours, that is before really Eid, we will be able to deliver the merchandise to them. Normal e-commerce will take 2 days, 3 days, but here next 24 hours the product is taken to the customer. So we are taking those steps, and whosoever is most flexible, whosoever is most agile will really win this situation right now.
Shoppers probably will have a bigger challenge because your mantra is high footfall and customer experience. This is what shopper says. So again, when compared to Amit and compared to bestseller stores, you draw a huge footfall. So probably you need to rework on your SOP. And are you guys thinking on those lines to work on the SOPs? How will you handle those SOP in a 2,000 square feet of your store? Probably at any given point of time, there would be 200, 300, depending on geographical location. This number of people would be there buying or.
Yeah. Sushil, as you rightly said, shoppers is more of the experience and the service to a customer. Right from the first week of lockdown, we had a bounce back plan which we had worked on and which was very dynamic based on the lockdowns increasing. And we had first of all created a huge line of essentials which were allowed to be shipped to the locations which were under lockdown through our e-commerce shopperstop.com site and the tie-up with Amazon. Apart from that, we have an endless aisle program wherein whatever is available in the store, we have a set of personal shoppers who are directly connected to the first citizen customers. First citizen loyalty customer program is the largest loyalty program in our country and the oldest one. So we are servicing our customers in spite of our lockdown through various locations, through various DCs. If some DC is not operational because of the lockdown of the red zone, the merchandise has been moved in from different location and delivered to the customer. So as Amit said that we have also done almost the same thing, whereas we have been servicing our customers from I would say from last 3 weeks. And our personal shoppers are in touch. There have been a wedding season which was there. We have helped our customers to do wedding shopping. We have done. We are concentrating on a lot of Eid shopping, and it is more for servicing the customer so that his occasions get fulfilled and there is a happiness in this time of our life.
Okay. Yeah. There is another very interesting conversation that I have had with the mall management guys, and they had indicated that today time has come when the stores, the brand should move from the traditional market, which is a non-mall format area, be it a high street or secondary business district, and they should come into mall because malls are more equipped to follow government directives in terms of health, safety, and hygiene compared to the open markets. Now, I think Ankur, you guys have lots of, and Amit, you also have lots of stores which are outside mall format. Have you given a thought on this that stores should be shifted now to the malls rather than be in the open market? Because there would be issues of health, hygiene, safety, not only for the customer, but for the employees as well.
In fact, the government is right now thinking the other way around. They are open the standalones and they have not opened the malls, and that's the worst thing to do because in malls we can manage social distancing and all the safety norms much better than the standalones.
But I said that people would be shifting from marketplace to the mall. So
but the government wants that people should shop from the independent stores in the high street or the shopping center instead of coming to the malls.
What I think is that the principle still remains the same. In our stores, we are installing an appointment scheduling system. And if the same can be done for malls, I think principally we are talking the same language. It's a little bit strange that malls are still not be open. We find them to be more hygienic than the high street, at least in the big cities. So far, the SOPs have not really seen the test of times because they were made largely for the mall stores. We have high streets open, but they don't generate so much of footfalls on a day-to-day basis. So they have not really been tested so far. So yeah, we are still waiting when the malls open and footfalls start coming in, how we'll be able to manage appointments and social distancing and cleanliness and assuring ultimately the customer that everything is in place and it's a safe place to shop.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Manish, I have a question for you. Manish and Amit, since both of you and Ankur, you guys belong to a brand which is an aspirational brand, if I can put it that way. Manish, you are a lifestyle professional and you deal with lots of aspirational brand. And Amit, when I look at your brand, it says aspirational brand with moderate price, something like that.
Yeah,
and
amazing fashion at awesome prices.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ankur, if I can put your brand as an aspirational price, which is aspirational brand, but not price conscious customers. So these days, there is a school of thought which says that aspirational brands probably would be last thing to touch. So do you think aspirational brand or the lifestyle brands will get affected? And do these brands need to rework on their business model or business practice?
So it's a year lost in retail for sure. I think we'll just repeat our last year numbers next year, irrespective of whether you're in the luxury segment or catering to the mass. What we believe here is that I think the journey will be faster for the aspirational brands compared to the mid-segment ones, because those are the guys who are more severely impacted in terms of their jobs and their livelihoods, and the consumers who are buying those brands will need that much more time to come to the same levels compared to us. So I think we are in a slightly better place in terms of our recovery, contrary to what you are saying, Professor.
Okay. Yeah. Amit, if you can.
What really, I missed your question, sorry.
Yeah, the question was related to the lifestyle brand, aspirational brand getting affected, because people are saying that we would be going to the basic, which is essentials, rather than the aspirational brand. And since your brand is projected as a aspirational brand, the moment somebody says that this
got it.
aspirational brand probably.
So we actually are feeling a little bit more confident about our model right now, because one, it is from the House of Arvind, which stands for quality. Second, we have built it like an aspirational brand, but the prices are really, really sharp. So we actually feel that if there is any downtrading which happens, we will actually tend to benefit, because if at all customers don't shop for the real premium brands, they will like to shop great quality or great fashion at lower price points, which we are able to offer. So only time will tell how it will unfold. As of now, whatever stores have opened, we feel that we made a decent start. The kind of products which are selling is really shifting. So that's what we have to really look for. So, for example, kids wear is selling really, really well, because kids are sitting at home. As well as if parents are going out and shopping anything, even if they're going out for shopping essentials, they want to buy something for their kids. So the kids wear has really taken off. Menswear has not taken off at all. So the shifts will happen, but overall, we feel confident that it could be a good moment for us actually.
There is a question that I'm picking up from the audience, and it says that now will aggressive discount help to cover the sale in the gap that has been created due to COVID-19 lockdown? So it says that will aggressive selling in terms of discount will help. Now, whether it is online discount or whether it's discount in the physical store. So will customer be driven to the store, or will customer be driven to the app from where it is being sold, or through the online format?
So all 2-3 thoughts here. First of all, as of now, if you want to do discount, you will not be able to attract the footfalls, or because of the social distancing norms, number of people who you cater to when you do discount will reduce. Hence, it may not really benefit. Second, as Ankur was also mentioning, right now cash is king. So and the profit what you make on every single product is more important. So if you discount it and you're not really able to increase the throughput, then you tend to lose really. So again, you can't make any plans. We normally have a strong discount period starting from mid of June to end of July. As of now, we are thinking next week rather than 3 weeks from now. So let us see how it goes.
I'll just add on.
Yeah.
I'll just add. So whatever stores have opened, we have not really seen ASPs drop. Conversions conversions have been almost 40% up. BQ has been 40% up. So as of now, we need more footfalls, and that will happen only when consumers start feeling safe to come to an environment which they used to visit, but they don't now. So we are just waiting for that to happen, and discounting might not be the best strategy, right?
At this point of time, yeah.
Sushil, there is another aspect to it. is that, since the supply chain is crippled, so we are not too sure of deliveries happening for, our festive winter season. So we have to, manage this inventory, whatever we have, so that we can have merchandise available, as long as it can sustain.
Hmm.
Right. So we have revised our, options, and as well as our, the buying plans, so that we have enough merchandise to sustain. So aggressive discounting may not work as of now, because people are not coming out in open to buy. At the same time, we want to have enough merchandise to, last a little longer.
Right. Devanshu, there is a question which is being put up by an audience, and it is directed to you. And it says that pre-COVID, and I'm just putting it in my word, and if I have understood the question quite well, it says that pre-COVID was a situation when a particular brand would win, the other brand would lose. But now a time has come when brands need to collaborate and say that we will use a single manufacturing facility who will cater to me, who will cater to the other brand, and there would be a supply chain which would be a common supply chain, so that it's a shared supply chain concept, and it becomes a win-win situation for both the brands. So, how do you think? Do you think it's a reality? Because this is a time when probably all the brands need to work together to win this battle.
So, it sounds like wishful thinking, but the fact is that's a reality. When brands are sourcing from factories, most of them don't acquire the entire production of the factory or the production capacity of the factory. They don't underwrite the entire factory. Uh, there would be multiple brands being produced in the same factory anyway. So it comes down to capabilities. It comes down to product requirements, and you might have uh, cases like bestseller where you have a portfolio of brands where in fact they do collaborate. I think not only on the sourcing side but also in the market side, where if they're talking to a real estate developer, they're talking with the strength of all the brands that are there in the portfolio. So that happens within a company. Across companies, it happens by in a more natural, in a more organic fashion. It is driven by product and capability, I think, more than anything else. I don't think people need to come together and figure out, I would say, artificial synergies when none exist. I think it should happen organically. Yes, you may find cases where, let's say, for instance, there are sensitivities involved in terms of work practices, where again, we've seen this over the years, past few years also, and that may happen further when it comes to compliances. Every brand starting to employ its own compliance framework gets a bit of a burden on the factory, and then the factory kind of turns around and said, guys, get together around one table and figure out common standards so that we can work to that. I think if uh, from a work process point of view, from systems point of view, yes, that makes sense. Product, I think, is much more natural. It has to be much more organic. It has to be much more just free flowing. You should be able to source from what makes sense rather than kind of get force fitted into somebody else's sourcing plan.
Yeah, and there's a suggestion from the audience which says that a time has come when a new category needs to be looked into in deeper manner, which is the loungewear category, because this is the category since people are working from home, and a loungewear which is not very casual, but it is presentable loungewear category. So that was a suggestion that we need to come out with a different type of subcategory within loungewear, which is not very casual, but it is a presentable loungewear category. So that was, I think, good suggestion. And during our discussion, this has also come that a new type of category will come, which would be a work from home type of category. Now, uh, if I have to sum up the entire second round, I would say that uh, there are some challenges which you guys have also talked about, and at this point of time, probably we don't have a magic stick that we move it and we'll get everything sorted out. And as Devanshu was also rightly saying, that as the time come, we will be facing challenges which we need to sort it out at that point of time. So basically what we need to look into is a shorter lead time where we can sort out our problem as it comes. So no boardroom strategic meeting probably at this point of time will work until or unless the lockdown completely is lifted, or it is eased, because we know that this is a long fight that we're going to have. Now I'll quickly come to round three. Now, yeah, Devanshu, you want to add something?
No, no, please go ahead.
Yeah. Now I'll come to round three. Now round three is very specific to a particular segment of audience which is here, and we at NIFT we acknowledge the fact that as an academician today our roles, responsibilities, and duties are much bigger than what it was earlier. We need to handhold the students. There are students who have just entered campus. There are students who are in mid of the courses. There are students who are about to graduate. There are alumni who have just started the job. There are alumni who have been working in 2 3 years, and there were questions from these alumni students studying that at this point of time, and we all have agreed and accepted the fact that this is a long battle. Now I would like from you guys, because you guys are the senior industry members and as an academician also, professor, if you can share with us so that the students also get some message that in this time of crisis, what is it that they should do so that they are able to fight or counter this particular crisis. So what should they do apart from their regular studying or learning that they are having? So it's not in any particular order, but anybody can come in and share their thoughts on this, that what should these target group do so that they are able to survive and they are able to thrive in long run.
Yeah, I can.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Sanjita.
I was like, okay, this is my question. I answer this question pretty much every single day. That is my job. It has become my job now. I would strongly encourage everybody who even if they are starting professionals or if they are students right now, to be open to not just sticking to what they are learning right now in their program, but looking outside. Uh, Thankfully, there are a lot of free platforms. Like, for example, Coursera is there, Linda is there. These are course platforms where you can expose yourself to things which you think you might be interested in. You don't have to pay. These are free. You can take the classes, understand, read. Please read. Keep up with the industry, what is going on, especially right now, which is very, very critical. And then don't limit yourself. Just because you are in product does not mean you cannot switch over to digital. And coming from a program which is all digital based, and it's the only program in United States which has a digital retailing major, digital is key. It does not matter where it's going to go. Digital is going to pay. I was listening to all of you guys, and how people are kind of doing things online, and then they're getting it shipped. That's digital. Then Shopper Stop, and I worked for Shopper Stop. That was my first job.
Nice to know.
And so kind of using Amazon supply chain, and they're kind of doing, so everybody is doing digital in some way, form, or the other. And even if you are I speak to Devanshu, and we have a lot of our students who end up in consulting and those kind of roles, market research. Again, digital is the key piece in kind of understanding customers' behavior, because especially now, you don't have to meet somebody face to face. You can collect the data online. And so just be open to new ideas. That is very important. And I know, and all of you guys, I was seeing the questions pop up of being freshers and not kind of knowing what to do. Things will improve. It'll take time. Be patient. And NIFT has got such amazing alumni, and kind of feed into that. Make those connections, network, get on LinkedIn. Those kind of things which are not study related. They're just to make yourself more marketable, because whether you like it or not, your best friend is your competition. And you need to make sure that you kind of, when these people who are out here right now, are looking for the next person to hire, they will see in you something little different, something you did because you could just do it, not because it was a Dr. Raturi told you go and do this assignment, but you did it because you wanted to be different from the others. So this is what I would really encourage every single person. And if you are, get a master's degree. If you are working, you have an undergrad, get a master's degree. Make your own, make your professional level much more better. Get certifications. Make yourself more marketable, and that is what and that's what I keep on telling all my students every single day. And that is something I strongly believe, is that it's not so much as the education, it's more so as to what you do to keep yourself more updated, so that when something new like this happens, you have the skill set to jump right in. I'll stop right now. This is kind of very close to my heart because we have a lot of students who are facing this, and I feel for them.
Sushil, if I might just add something to what Sanjukta just said. On this panel, we have someone who came out of NIFT at a time in a year when India was about to default on its balance of payments.
True.
So Shilpi came out in 1991 as a fresh student into the industry. And I recall at that point of time, Shilpi, I think you must have been one of the first few people in the country to actually work on a computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing.
Yeah.
And
we used to work on intranet. Forget about internet in 1992, 93.
Yeah, IG Stadium. You guys were there in IG
Yeah,
Stadium.
so after that, I think once Shilpi had graduated, he walked into this place where they were designing collections and trying to sell this solution, which was a computer-aided design solution, to an industry which was not ready, in a country where the economy was going to, it was in a shambles. In a global environment where there was a global war happening in the Middle East, and there was conflict and oil and everything else, right? So it was a very difficult time. And yet, 29 years later, you sit here with somebody who's seen so much and has achieved so much, with one thing, one factor underlying all of that is what Sanjukta said: learning throughout the career. And Shilpi, please feel free to jump in. I'm talking about your life here.
Yeah, thanks for such a kind words and the words of wisdom, Devanshu. Thanks a lot. It is true. If I chip in now about the students, I would like to.
Shilpi.
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So you should not have any stress till the time people are wearing clothes. We are going to be in business. Whether there is virus or no virus, we are going to be in business. People are not going to shed their clothes very soon, at least in my lifetime and your lifetime. So there is not going to be any stress in you. We are there. The company, the industry is there, and you are in the best country. You are in a country where you have a raw material. You are in a country which has got the largest market. You are in a country, the economy was growing very well. It will continue to grow well. And you are in a country where there is a market, there is a raw material and the talent and the labor. So it's a best recipe for success. So why to get worried? Just go with the flow. Times are tough. It is going to sort out. It is just a matter of 6 months, 3 months, maybe as soon as the vaccine comes in, people are going to rush back to shopping. They'll be wearing the best of clothes. And this happens. There are world wars which happens. There are, pandemics which is happening. There are, economic slowdowns which happens, and we recover. In 2008, the real estate had gone down, and then we recovered. And moreover, when economy is going down, the higher investments go off. Houses will be selling less, cars will be selling less. So people will have discretionary pockets to spend on clothing and lifestyle. So never ever get worried. You are in very good state of affairs. You have seen this pandemic. It's going to help you to grow up.
I think we need to convert this threat into an opportunity. That's the
Yes.
Yeah, Ankur and Amit, we still.
Yeah, I was just mentioning. So last year, I think last year before that, you had invited me once to the Mumbai campus, and I was talking to the students about VUCA. VUCA is nothing but volatility, uncertainty, uh, complexity, ambiguity. So that's what the acronym VUCA is all about. So none of us had really thought that a grandfather of VUCA will come and hit us now, so which it did this time. Yeah. So, but one thing which is very interesting about this is that it has hit everybody. It's not hit one country, or it has not hit one part of the strata. It has hit everybody. It's a reboot moment for all of us. It's a, you can say, a in our language we say it a control alt delete moment for us. When we have 20 tabs open and 20 files open on the computer, it hangs, and one has to do a restart. And this is the moment when it is a restart moment. So my advice to all of you will be to just think that everybody has come to the starting line now. Everybody is there is a level playing field. Everybody is going to restart everything. So the most agile, the most innovative, the most creative, you can say the most grounded person who is most closest to your consumer and market will really win. And as a student, I think two things. One is really look at one skill in you which you can develop, uh, which is maybe somebody is good in art, somebody is good in music, somebody is good in dance. So just develop one additional skill other than just being preparing for becoming a professional. That skill will really help you sometime if things don't go the way you want it to go. Uh, and second is not get fixed on one line of profession. Always keep two lines open for you, so that if one doesn't work, you have a fallback option. So just be prepared, be flexible, have two lines, and develop a skill. That's my advice to you.
I'll
I
just chip in. To the ones who are passing out, my only advice that might sound strange is to jump into entrepreneurship. You don't need resources, honestly. All you need is a good idea and try it out. This probably be the best time to take it up, because once you start your jobs, this you might become you might get into your comfort zone and never try it out. So go for it.
I'd just like to add, yeah. So I would say that new blood, new ideas are always welcome in any business, and more so at this time, because I think what the freshers need to actually focus on is that many of us who are already in the routine have not been able to think of the new normal, and if they can actually think and develop their skills for the new normal, that will become their position to come in and sort of chip in very effectively to the businesses. And that's what they can spend their time right now, to actually innovate and think for the new normal.
Devanshu, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so I just like to add one comment that, as students of NIFT, and this is addressed to the students who are listening in, uh, you are part of a network of alumni, which is, numbering almost 30,000 people that have graduated over the last 30 odd years. And this is a, an enormously powerful network that most people at NIFT and who are passed out of NIFT don't use. And I would urge you, in times like this, it is the most critical to plug in yourself, to volunteer, to connect with people who are alumni, who are senior to you, who are your peers. And it's the time to help each other. So if you want to actually get a leg up, this is the time. Start connecting now. Don't expect instant results, because it's like a bank account. You put in and you get more out, right? So you have to first put in. Go with that. You're investing in relationships, and those relationships will last you years. I mean, if you're just starting out your career, you've got 30, 35, 40 years ahead of you to work. You don't know how the benefits will come back to you. So my small suggestion would be, go to the NIFTA website. It's NIFTAL UMNI, niftalumni.org. Go register yourself. You can become a member and start connecting with people. There is enormous amounts of learning. There are enormous number of potential internship opportunities, job opportunities, business opportunities that will come up, and you don't even know where they will come from. So I would, strongly urge you, don't neglect this at this point of time. Particularly, it's very, very important. Connect yourself to the alumni. Be a contributing member more than anything else. Like I said, put in something in the bank, and it'll come back to you with interest.
Thank you. So if I have to sum up the third round, wherein we wanted to inform the student community that what all they should do in this time. A new skill set is something that you guys have indicated they should acquire. They should also do lots of networking with the existing alumni and make yourself comfortable with the new technology that is going to come. Be ready to work in an unconventional environment. And when I say unconventional environment, is not a conventional would be 9 to 5:30 type of job. So be ready to work from home, be ready to work even when you are holidaying or when you are in beach or when you are anywhere. So, and accept the crisis. We need to accept the crisis, but mentally, emotionally, we need to be stronger. Stay healthy, stay fit. So that's the message that I wanted to give from all of your side. And thank you all the panel member, Manish, Amit, Ankur, Devanshu, Shilpi, Professor, who have joined us from different geographical location. And I would also like to sum up by saying that this is not the end of the conversation. And we have lots of things to do in terms of lots of other webinars are being conducted in different platforms. So we would seek your support in asking you who would be the speciality or specialized person for that particular issue. So I'll come back to you because NIFT Mumbai is arranging lot many other conferences, webinars sort of. And with that, we thank you all the participants, attendees who were connected with us through Zoom. And I hand it over to Yashwant Misale. Thank you all. Yashwant, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for sharing your valuable insights on the topic. On behalf of NIFT Mumbai, I would like to thank all the panelists for being a part of this discussion. I would like to thank all our viewers on Zoom and YouTube. I would like to especially thank Mr. Nitin Salve for providing the technical support for this webinar. I would like to thank one of our students from FMS Semester 2, Ankita Arora, for making all the artwork for promoting this event. I would like to thank Vandana Vekhande for promoting this event on social media platform. My gratitude to our campus director, Dr. Pawan Godiawala, for his support and guidance. I would like to thank our campus academic coordinator, Professor Rupa Agrawal, Professor Joe Mitchell, all team members of FMS department. And at last, I would like a big thank you to Dr. Sushil Raturi, moderator of today's panel discussion. He has been instrumental in conceptualizing this webinar and getting on board all the panel members and having a very insightful discussion. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sushil.
Thanks all.
Yeah. No
Thank you.
handshakes.
Yeah.
We all be
Thank
connected.
Bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
चला झालं